We care about you at Chevyland.
At Chevyland, the advantage is yours. The Chevyland Advantage. 2 years, no charge scheduled maintenance is included with every new vehicle. And for a limited time, take advantage of 0% APR financing for up to 48 months on select new Chevys. Plus, don't forget, every new vehicle we sell comes with a Chevyland Advantage at no extra charge.
Chevyland cares about you.
Hey, everybody, this is GeauxPreps.com owner Hunter Bauer, and we are here to break down the 2022 LHSAA football playoff brackets, which were released this morning at 10 o'clock. I know it was everybody was waiting on pins and needles, waiting to see what the newly formatted playoff divisions would look like, and they're here. And we're excited to break them down for y'all today. I've got some special guests on with me today. Louisiana High School Coaches Association Director Eric Held and Louisiana Prep Scoreboard host Todd Black from 104.5 ESPN in Baton Rouge. Guys, thank y'all for coming on with me today. And man, it's just crazy that the playoffs are already here. It seems like it was week one just last week.
You know, Hunter, they wouldn't be on pins and needles if they followed GeauxPreps.com.
Well, they might be the multiple times that it crashed this weekend. I promise you that. So it crashed Friday night, and then it also crashed probably about an hour after the brackets were released this morning, but not as long as it did on Friday night. So definitely want to thank everybody for tuning in to GeauxPreps all year long. And real quick, I want to give a special shout out to our sponsors at Chevyland up there in Shreveport, 7500 Uri Drive. Bubba and Charlie and the gang up there, really appreciate their support throughout the year. So if you're in the Shreveport area, need a new vehicle, go see them, or you can shop, click, drive at Chevyland.com. Thanks to Bubba and the boys. Guys, we're not going to wait. We're going to get right into the brackets. I figure we could start off with, let's do Division 4 non-select. Real quick, Coach Held, if you don't mind, just kind of give a little breakdown before we go into these brackets of the new formats and what a non-select and a select is for those who may not be aware.
Sure, Hunter. Again, thanks for being here. Glad to be here with you and Todd to discuss the high school football playoff brackets on release day. Again, new format this year. The big thing that got this going was, what is the definition of a select school? We're not going to get into that, but that was finally done this summer, and then by the LHSAA Executive Committee. And then at their September meeting, they made the decision, because there were so many schools, non-select and select, that the number was even, close to even. It was 53% non-select schools out of our member schools. 47% of our member schools are select, and they wanted to create more equitable brackets, more competitive brackets that resembled how they looked back in the day, where they were full, a lot of depth, very competitive. And I think that's what's been achieved here. So in the select brackets, or on the select side, there are 24 teams with seeds 1 through 8 receiving byes. On the non-select side, there are 28 teams with seeds 1 through 4 receiving byes.
And Eric, the number wasn't determined by select or non-select. It was a percentage of the teams is how you came up with the number.
Correct. So some people will ask, we've all got these questions. Hey, why 28 for why non-select, why 24 for select? Well, the percentage of teams that make the bracket are about equal. So that way there weren't 28 teams for select, even though there were fewer select teams to choose from. And that way it wasn't giving the select schools an advantage with more or a higher percentage of teams from the select side being on the bracket than non-select. So it's, again, the executive committee, one of their big things was equity, and that's another example of how that was achieved.
Yeah, no doubt. Certainly a big change for the upcoming postseason. Honestly, guys, real quick, I think, just browsing through the bracket so far this morning, I think you're going to get a lot more interesting matchups in the first couple of rounds rather than in the past. You've had to wait quarterfinals, maybe even semifinals before getting a real good matchup. But just looking through, you're going to get some really good first round, second round games against teams that could possibly have played in the dome against each other. And I just think that goes to show you how competitive these brackets are heading in to the into the playoff season. Okay, guys, so let's get started with Division 4 non-select, and like Coach Held said, this is the non-select. This will be mostly your quote unquote traditional public schools on the non-select side. I'm going to try to screen share real quick while we break down, just so people can look if they don't have a bracket in front of them. So this is what the Division 4 non-select bracket looks like. And let's go down real quick. You've got Kentwood, drew the #1 seed, a very strong season for Kentwood thus far this year, really with a signature win against a really good Southern Lab team a couple weeks ago to win that district. They are back in 1A this year. And then you'll have, they'll get a first round bye. Then you'll have General Trask as the 16 seed against East Beauregard at number 17. Welsh will host Varnado. Oak Grove is the 8 seed, will host Centerville. Then you have Haynesville hosting East Iberville as the 5 seed. Then you have Oakdale and Franklin. And then Oberlin at Gaydon. And then Basile draws the first round bye as the 4 seed. Guys, let's kind of break down that little pod. We'll go by each pod real quick, and then we'll go to the one at the bottom. But and y'all chime in whenever y'all need to. But that first pod, anything that stands out to y'all as far as interesting matchups we may not usually get to see. Dark horses, sleepers, what do y'all guys think?
I think personally that Kentwood, you mentioned the Southern Lab game, but they beat McDonough 35 back in the middle of October. They also beat Walker, two very good teams that are in higher classifications that are both highly seeded in the playoffs. I think Kentwood's got to be your favorite in that bracket. It's not any surprise that they're a 1 seed, but there's a couple other ones as we're just keeping in the top. You never know. Haynesville's always got that pedigree, and they're going to be well coached, and they're always going to be very competitive. And then you got Oak Grove, so that top bracket is really pretty strong with some well-known teams with a good history of playoff success.
Sure, there's a lot of community schools. That's what you've seen in Class 1A, which is pretty much Division 4 non-select with Kentwood and Haynesville, Oak Grove, Welsh on that side. Welsh made it to the Dome 2 years in a row, if I'm not mistaken, in 17 and 18. Of course, they're in 2A, but when the divisions were divided evenly in terms of school enrollment, Welsh ended up in Division 4, as did Oak Grove. They were both 2A schools playing down, I guess you could say now, but 9 and 8 seeds respectively. They have to be respected. And then Haynesville is in that bottom pod in the top half of the bracket as a 5 seed. But Todd, I agree with you that Kentwood definitely would be the favorite to make it there from the top half. Interesting win over 5A Walker a few weeks ago.
Yep.
Yeah, no doubt. And you also have your General Trasses in there who are, usually in the past couple of years they've been very competitive. Struggled a little bit this year, but I would think that would be an interesting matchup between Kentwood and General Trask. But then also it seems like you have all your traditional powerhouses of the old 1A on that side with the Kentwoods and the Oak Groves and the Haynesvilles. But Basille's another one of those teams I think, that may surprise some people. Haynesville and Basile have battled it out in the last couple of years as well. I think Basile actually upset Haynesville or beat Haynesville in the first round a couple of years ago. Let's go down to that bottom side of the bracket. Mangum comes in at number 3. They'll have a first round bye. Really strong season. Jalen Williams, their running back, over 2,000 yards this season. It's just been impressive so far. They'll play the winner of Grand Lake and LaSalle. You have Arcadia hosting Lake Arthur. Lake Arthur is another one of those schools that are a 2A enrollment, but playing with the 1A schools in the Division 4 non-select bracket. White Castle will host Delcom. I hope I'm saying that right, guys. Delcom, is that right?
Delcom.
And then you have Logan Sport with Jonesboro Hodge. Logan Sport actually lost to St. Mary's, Coach Hale's old stomping ground. St. Mary's took home the district championship with the win over Logan Sport, which was, I think it was a shocker to everybody. I think everybody had Logan Sport pegged to win that game. So, but still, Logan Sport, one of those teams to watch in this division as well. East Feliciana, number 10, hosting Elton at number 23. Another one of these schools you're going to have to help me on, guys. Jeanerette, I'm assuming. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay.
Jeanerette, that's it.
Jeanerette, all right. Number 15 and hosting Delhi. And at number 2 with the first round bye will be the Homer Pelicans, defending 1A state champions, looking to defend their title from last year. So, guys, a Homer Mangum semifinal would be very interesting to see. Could anybody else within this bottom pod ultimately upset one of these two teams? Can anybody stop Mangum right now?
Eric, you go.
They've seemed unstoppable so far this year, especially just looking ahead. Grand Lake played in the 1A state championship game in 2020. White Castle played in the 1A state championship game in 2019. So those are a couple teams that are notable on that side. And then we have Logan Sport, who played Homer for the 1A state championship last year. East Feliciana is in the district with Dunham and Episcopal, and they have shown a lot of improvement over the past year. Those are some notable teams, but Mangum would definitely, I think, be the favorite, with Homer a close second to make it to the Dome in that bottom half.
And Hunter, I agree with Eric. We were talking a little bit about East Feliciana the other day. East Feliciana played Kentwood, I think, to a 32-26 game. They played Dunham really tight, and Dunham's a very good team. The thing with Mangum is, does Mangum have a passing game to offset Jalen Williams? And the couple of games, I look at the Oak Grove game, I watched that game, and their quarterback, I think his name's Seth, last name's me, but Seth is, he's a good quarterback. He threw the ball well. And if you've got to put so many in there in the box, and you are, to have to stop Jalen Williams, it's going to come back to their passing game. And I think they can throw it. But, the question will be, when it comes down to it, like Logan Sport, I like them because of, their tenure from last year. So, but you got Logan Sport, East Feliciana in the second round, then possibly a Homer East Feliciana matchup in the quarters. So, it'll be, again, I think that's going to be an interesting bottom half of the bracket as well.
And also, looking at this bracket, Arcadia is one of those teams that you shouldn't overlook them. They always have athletes. They always play Homer and Haynesville really close in district, more times than not. Potentially, maybe if they can get past White Castle, a quarterfinal matchup with Mangum, I think that would be of interest to a lot of folks. But Arcadia is one of those teams. I think it could be a sleeper, just depending on how they can tread through that Division 4 bracket. So let's go to real quick. I want to get y'all's predictions. Who's going to be in the Superdome facing each other in the Division 4 non-select bracket? Who
You
makes
didn't
it
tell
to
us
the
about this.
putting y'all on the
I'm
spot?
supposed to be biased as the Coaches Association director.
How about this? Who do y'all see as being a dark horse in this bracket and possibly having a good run that maybe nobody could see?
I think ours is going to be the same. I think East Feliciana.
I could agree with that. In the bottom as a 10 seed, they've played Dunham and Episcopal, played Dunham really tough, played Kentwood tough. I can jump on board with Todd. If you're a 5 seed, that's not really a dark horse in Haynesville up top, but that's one. Oak Grove, everyone knows about Oak Grove. They won the state championship in 2019 and also 2020. So Welsh, I've been high on them since the new divisions have been released, knowing they would be in Division 4. I know they kind of have a tough draw, potentially in the second round against Oak Grove and then Kentwood. So that's kind of tough. But I think we've mentioned the schools that are worth mentioning in Division 4 non-select.
Fair enough. Here we go. Division 4 select. We'll start with the top half. Now, again, these the select side, top 24 teams make it. The top 8 get a first round bye. So let's start with number 1, Vermilion Catholic. They'll draw the first round bye as the number 1 seed. They will face the winner of Cedar Creek and Slaughter Community Charter. Let me share my screen here for the folks. And then you have Southern Lab at the 9 seed hosting River Oaks. The winner of that will take on St. Frederick in the regional round. Then you have number 5, St. Mary's with the first round bye. They will face the winner of Hanson Memorial and Delta Charter. And then you got Delhi Charter and St. John. And the winner of that game will will more than likely travel to St. Martin's to face the number 4 seed. So real quick in this pod, guys, just kind of give your thoughts on the teams in this side of the bracket.
Eric, I think St. John has really done it. They've struggled they used to be a power. They struggled for a while. They've got their feet back under them. I don't know that they've got them back under them well enough to get too far in the playoffs, but I just kind of wanted to acknowledge those guys. But, you look at that second round matchup between Southern Lab and St. Frederick. That's going to be interesting. River Oaks needs to be on a lookout alert because that could get rough quick. And I like the first round game of Cedar Creek and Slaughter. I think that's going to be a really interesting matchup, but Vermilion Catholic has really shown to be the class of this division. So I think in the long run, Vermilion Catholic's just going to be too tough for the rest of them.
Yeah, Vermilion Catholic, they've allowed only 37 points all season. And in week 9, was really intrigued by the matchup against Central Catholic. Central Catholic kind of flew under the radar for a little bit and then really came on. And I thought that was going to be a really close one. And Vermilion Catholic just showed how explosive they are. 44-7 win. They're averaging close to 40, if not right over 40 on offense. But the telling tale for them is that they've only given up 37 points. But Southern Lab's a 9 seed. I like Southern Lab's, not only their win against Avoyles, but how they did it. Avoyles has put up a ton of points all year, and they held Avoyles to under 30. And Avoyles doesn't punt, and they onside kick every time. They're physical up front. They have some skilled athletes, and I was impressed with what they did against Avoyles. St. Fred's last year went on a semifinal run as a 14 seed, and I actually picked them to get to the to the semis as a 14 seed. Andy Robinson does a great job. And then Coach York at St. Mary's, the Tigers, he's got them playing really well.
Yep.
Going back a long way to when I was last there in 2005. Those kids, I remember, they were 1 or 2 years old, and some people we know that were alums or lived in the community. So it's cool to be able to see some of those names, and they've played really well on defense. You mentioned their signature
Eric.
win against Logansport.
I wanted to ask you, they lost their first week, I think, versus Abbeville, but they haven't really been challenged since. Are they that talented?
I think so. And this is their best team since 2015 when they made it to the Dome and lost to Southern Lab. And you mentioned they haven't been challenged. Logansport, I thought because of that, held the edge in week 9. Hunter mentioned it. A lot of people didn't expect that. And big reason, like you mentioned, Todd, was they weren't challenged between weeks 2 and 8, but they played a fairly good 3A Abbeville team, tight, losing 21-7. And then they beat Logansport by 2 touchdowns. And that says a lot. So be interesting to see how they handle the bye and get the winner of Hanson Memorial and Delta Charter.
Yeah, definitely. And, looking at Logansport's schedule, their only other 2 losses were to Calvary Baptist, who is going to have a chance at a state title this year, as well as 8-2 Rose Pine, who's no slouch as well. So, yeah, definitely that was a huge win for St. Mary's.
And one other team to mention in the top half of the bracket, 4 seed St. Martin's Episcopal, 9-1. Coach Frank Gendus is the head coach, best known for being the head coach at Newman for the Mannings. And Harlem Berry is a sophomore running back who's an SEC recruit, and had an opportunity to watch him on a live stream against Abramson in week 4, and he is definitely an SEC running back. Their biggest test was to Riverside in district, and they didn't match up. Riverside did a great job of containing Berry, and that's a concern with a potential matchup even in the second round against the winner of Delhi Charter and St. John. It'll be interesting to see how they get through that.
All right, so on to the bottom half of that Division 4 select bracket. We're going to start out. We have Ouachita Christian coming in as the number 3 seed. They'll receive the first round bye. We'll play the winner of Sacred Heart and Covenant Christian. Glenbrook is the number 6 seed, finishing the season undefeated in their second year as an LHSAA member. They will face the winner of Catholic Point Coupee and Central Private. Central Private at the number 22 seed. Riverside Academy, number 7. They'll get the first round bye and face the winner of Ascension Catholic and Lincoln Prep. And then Central Catholic, the number 2 seed, will face the winner of, I believe this is a rematch of a district contest between Opelousas Catholic and St. Edmund in the bottom side of this bracket. Guys, a lot of really good teams here. A potential quarterfinal round matchup between Glenbrook and Ouachita Christian, which I know has drawn people's attention. Just kind of give us your breakdown of this pod.
Eric?
Yeah, you've got the usual suspects. 3 seed Ouachita Christian. Catholic Point Coupee played in the 1A championship game back in 2019. Glenbrook, undefeated, has the state's longest winning streak. Riverside Academy is the 7 seed. Lee Roussel is the first-year head coach. He's been the offensive line coach at Nicholls State the last 6 or 7 years. Ascension Catholic is the 10 seed. You mentioned the Opelousas Catholic St. Edmunds rivalry with the 15-18 seed, and then Central Catholic is the 2 seed at the bottom. Probably Ouachita Christian out of here garners the most attention just because of their traditional success. Coach Fitzhugh's been there forever, does a great job. Glenbrook, Coach Feaster, who took Parkway to the Superdome not long ago, is the head coach at Glenbrook, who's a recent addition to the LHSAA, longest streak in the state right now. Ascension Catholic Coach Weiner at Dunham commented after their game that they have enough skill, they're explosive enough, and they're definitely good enough up on both sides to where they could play with Southern Labs. So that says a lot, a nice endorsement from Coach on that team. So there's some good teams in the bottom of the bracket.
Does Feaster still ride Glenbrook? They're still spread.
They are.
So the one thing I look at in the second round is, Catholic Point compete. Can they compete with Glenbrook because of the type of offense they run? We know from experience that's very hard offense to simulate what the Hornets do. But can they match up defensively? Because other than that, you would have to think Glenbrook, Ouachita Christian in that top half. And then, I agree with you and Coach Weiner, Ascension Catholic and Opelousas Catholic down at the bottom. Opelousas Catholic got in the district, Eric, and they just kind of really started rolling pretty well. And then you look at Ascension Catholic, they lost a one-score game to Episcopal, one score to Dunham. Was that it? Were they 8-2? Yeah. And so, they're explosive, and they got some senior leadership on there, I think, that can make a difference. But I like Ouachita Christian just because Coach Fitzhugh does just such a good job year in and year out. And so you got to expect them to be there. And on the lower half, maybe, who knows, maybe Ascension Catholic, Ouachita Christian in the semis.
And a sleeper is Opelousas Catholic 15 seed. They lost to Ascension Catholic by 2 in week 2, and then lost to Southern Lab in a competitive game by 2 touchdowns. But since then, they've rattled off 6 wins, and they defeated Catholic Point Capee in week 7.
That's
right. The Hornets only lost, kind of an anomaly, if I remember going back to how that game played out. So that's the only blemish on the Hornets record. So I like what you mentioned about how the Hornets match up against Glenbrook in the second round. That'll be an interesting matchup. And then Ouachita Christian, Glenbrook, if they get there, how do those two teams that are very similar match up? And on the bottom, can Riverside beat Ascension Catholic and defend? Chris Latchney is the defensive coordinator at Riverside Academy, and most recently he was the defensive coordinator at Southeastern. So Coach Roussel has put together a great staff there, not only him, but many others as well. So just again, Division IV, don't discount them because of the lack of size on the roster, or you don't have many college recruits playing, but there's some really good football played in Division IV.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be a very competitive bracket. Real quick before we move on, just looking at the leaders in points scored this season, Riverside is in the top 5. They're averaging almost 48 points a game, limiting their opponents to just almost 13. Also, Glenbrook's in that top 15 number as well. And then you also have Vermilion Catholic and Ouachita Christian. So a lot of high scoring teams in that division. Okay, guys, let's move on to let's do Division III non-select. That's going to be, let me screen share here real quick. All right, guys, this is the Division III non-select bracket. We'll start out with the Manny Tigers, number 1, unanimous number 1, many may say. They'll get a first round bye and will host Caldwell Parish or Richwood in the second round. You have Rose Pine and Red River facing each other in the first round at Rose Pine. Number 8 seed Pine takes on Westlake at home. Of Boyles, the number 5 seed will host 28 Lakeside and will take on the winner of number 12 South Plaquemines or St. Helena. And then you have Lauraville at the 13 seed taking on Vidalia. And the winner of that game will take on St. James, who draws a first round bye as the 4 seed. So, guys, real quick, that top pod, very interesting. A lot of good matchups, I think, to come out of this. And then could we potentially get a rematch from last year's semifinal game between Manny and Avoyelles? Again, can Avoyelles do it?
I'm going to put you on an upset alert. I just think that Richwood Here's Richwood's losses. They've lost to 1 point to West Ouachita. They lost 16 by Sterlington, 1 to Union, and 3 to Carroll. They have a possible matchup with Manny in the second round. Manny traditionally has struggled sometimes. If they're going to struggle, they're going to struggle in the early rounds. There's a bye for them. I think Richwood has the talent and the ability to stay with them if they can do the small things. What I mean by small things, not turn the ball over and have good special teams. Good special teams is a big question mark. So there's going to be my first upset alert. Not saying it's going to happen, just I think it's a good chance. And then you have St. James in the bottom half of that, and St. James has lost to a very good Edie White team, but St. James has got a lot of speed, a lot of athletic ability, play good defense. Coach Levante is over there for the first time, replacing Coach Valdez. I think he's got him going in the same direction. So look for those guys to make a good run too.
Yeah, I like your Richwood pick, Todd, to win the first round matchup as a 17 seed. They've played a tremendously tough schedule. As you mentioned, their 4 losses, just incredible. And I think their 4 losses were by a combined 21 points. Just did the math looking at their schedule. So not far away from being a team that could possibly be undefeated. And Coach Yanez has done a great job there and turning that around, and good to see them competitive. But obviously the favorite in Division III non-select is Manny up at the top. They've just rolled through. They turned back the challenge of Arch Manning and Newman, who came on the road to Manny. It's always interesting when you get deeper in the playoffs for Manny. How do they handle being on the road? Because they have such a circus-like atmosphere when you go watch them. A great experience.
Yep.
At Manny. Coach Jess Curtis, he's been there a while, does a great job. But getting them to travel deeper in the playoffs, that's a chat that might be one of the few challenges that team has. That they could stack up with a lot of these upper division teams. But when you look at the bottom half of the top portion of the bracket, it looks like Avoyelles 5 and St. James 4 on a collision course to get there to see who would face Manny.
Well, I'm thinking about it, Eric, since a lot of people aren't familiar with buys. Let's say Richwood's 17 seed. They upset Caldwell. Typically, they would have the next home game if the 1 seed held serve. But because they have a bye, you're going to explain the bye situation there in the home team.
Great point. So if you are a bye, if you have a bye the first round, you are playing a home game no matter who wins. What your opponent, it doesn't matter if the lower seed wins, because you had a bye, you move on to the second round, you automatically have a home game.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of confusion every year on how that works. So there it is. There's your clarification, everybody. Okay, let's go to the bottom half of that bracket, which is also just going to be really competitive. You've got Union Parish drawing the number 3 seed. They'll have a first round bye. This is going to be interesting, folks. Number 14, Sterlington against number 19, Baker. Winner takes on Union Parish in the second round. Could we potentially get another matchup between Union Parish and Sterlington again? You have Patterson and Port Allen, and that winner will take on number 6 seed Winfield or number 27 Mamou. And then you've got number 7 Amite taking on number 26 Rayville. And that winner will take on the winner of number 10 Gina and number 23 Mansfield. And then number 15 Jules Sumner plays number 18 Berwick, and will take on the number 2 seed Bogalusa, who draws the first round bye. Guys, Coach Cyril Crutchfield has won everywhere he's ever been at, has always been able to make the programs better, and it's certainly what he's done here at Bogalusa. He's got a really good quarterback in Ashton Levi, along with a lot of great athletes. But You can't discount Trey Holly and the Union Parish Farmers up there on the top half of that bracket. But then you have some others mixed in. You got Amite, you got Sterlington, you got Patterson, who's been really great at times this season, as well as Jules Sumner, who always seems to be in the mix deep in the postseason. So doesn't seem like an easy road for either one of those two top teams, but would be an interesting matchup in the semifinals.
So, Eric, what I look at is Amite and Bogalusa in the quarterfinals. And you remember the last time they met in the quarterfinals?
Was that the year that there was no semifinal game?
Yes. And then Bletcher had a bye in the semis because they both had so many off the sideline. Brawl.
Or was it St. James that had the bye and moved on to the Dome? I think that was in 2015. I could be wrong.
It was those two
you
teams.
are right. Jenkins was the head coach, and it might have been his last year at St. James or his first year at Lutcher. I can't remember. It was 15 or 16. Can't remember. But you are correct on that Bogalusa Amite matchup in the playoffs.
What do you think about Amite?
Like him. Definitely a roadblock for Bogalusa potentially on the bottom. One of those two teams should advance. And then you mentioned upset alert. I think Sterlington might be the team that could upset Union Parish and move through to the semifinals, possibly even the Dome. They're the 3A state champ last year, and they're 5-5. Don't get obsessed with that. Touchdown loss to Amite, touchdown loss to Union. They're in the district with Union. They know Trey Holly well, know Coach Spat, how to defend their offense. They opened the season with a close loss to West Monroe, and in week 4, they lost a close one, 2 touchdowns, but it was a little closer than that to Carroll. So they've been challenged. They've beaten the teams they're supposed to, played those teams that might be even or a tad better in close games. Coach Doty's been around a while, definitely knows how to get his team ready. So that's my upset alert on the bottom. Outside of Union, Amite, Bogalusa, usual suspects.
Sterlington's just not been healthy for most of the year. I mean,
Correct. They've had some injuries.
Yeah, when they played Union, they lost their quarterback for a little bit, and they held back. I'm not, but I know that they've been battling injuries up front and sometimes the skill positions as well.
Yeah, no doubt. This is going to be another division. I think that a lot of people may have Manny pegged to win this division, but certainly some competition on throughout that bracket. Let's move on to the select Division 3 bracket. We'll run down that real quick. We're just going to go ahead and start running down the entire bracket, guys, and then we'll break it off by pods. Number 1, Newman is going to draw a first round bye. They'll take on the winner of Sophie B. Wright and Darbone Woods Charter. University Lab at the 8th seed. They will play Country Day. The winner of Country Day and Green Oaks. Calvary Baptist is the number 5 seed. They'll have a first round bye. Will play the winner of Northlake Christian and Houma Christian. And then at the bottom half of that pod, Dunham will draw the 4 seed and a first round bye, take on the winner of Martin Luther King Charter and Thomas Jefferson. In the bottom half of the bracket, Notre Dame will draw the first round bye as a 3 seed. They'll take on the winner of Catholic New Iberia and Lake Charles College Prep, who I think could be one of the dark horses in that division. Hold on, guys, I'm trying to screen share real quick. Then you have Loyola Prep as the 11th seed taking on St. Thomas Aquinas. That winner will face number 6 Episcopal in the second round. North Caddo, number 7 seed, draws a first round bye. They will play the winner of Parkview Baptist and Menard. And then St. Charles draws the first round bye, and will face the winner of Ascension Episcopal and Patrick Taylor. Guys, real quick, before I let y'all have it, St. Charles defeats Newman. Newman keeps the 1 seed. St. Charles at number 2. They stay on opposite sides of the bracket. Definitely would be an interesting rematch in the Dome if that were to happen. But again, you have the Notre Dames and the Calvarys and the universities, and don't count out Dunham, North Caddo, just a lot of talent amongst this division this year.
Yeah, you've got that right. You look up top, and the first thing you notice is a potential quarterfinal matchup, and maybe one of the most exciting quarterfinal matchups that could possibly happen in any division bracket with Newman and U High. And if you had to make a favorite, if you polled coaches in this division, they would probably make U High the favorite, even if it was a slight favorite. But nothing like having to face Arch Manning in the quarterfinals. U High is definitely no slouch. Calvary's a team. They're a 5 seed. They're a team that's kind of flown under the radar in this division.
Absolutely.
Maybe because of geography, because they're up north on I-20, and the cluster of teams in this division throughout the years has pretty much been centered along I-10, 55, and 12 in the southern part. Calvary's flown under the radar from that perspective, losing just twice and both to 5A programs. And then you mentioned Dunham had an opportunity to watch them play Episcopal a few weeks ago, and just blew out Episcopal. Very good up front on both sides of the ball. Coach Matt House is the defensive coordinator for LSU. His son's the quarterback for Dunham. He moved in. He led his team to a state championship last year, and they're definitely a team to watch.
Looking a little bit at the bottom half, Hunter, Notre Dame has become a little bit like last week. Welch, them by the margin of victory that they beat Welch surprised me, but then they've got their quarterback back. Coach Cook, man, he's due. He's due. He's got him playing well at the right time. Then you look at the 6 seed Episcopal. Talk about under the radar. Travis Bourgeois, we're familiar with him around here, but just year in and year out, it's such a solid coach. It does so much. And this isn't a knock on the kids at Episcopal, but they don't have the talent that a lot of other schools have in this state to be consistently where they are. They have a great combination of discipline, program players that know how to execute and do their job. And then on the bottom half, you see Parkview and North Caddo is an interesting matchup in the second round. North Caddo's got Omarion Miller, a big wide receiver, but Parkview played U High pretty well up until halftime, so that could be a good second round matchup. But on the bottom half, I could see St. Charles easily getting to the quarterfinals, and that would leave with a good matchup between St. Charles and maybe Notre Dame. I think defense, Jason Brown, Wayne Stein, they just do such a good job in coaching up kids. They've got similar personnel to Episcopal, but they just – I remember one time we were getting ready to play them, and Coach Monica was there, and we looked down there, and we're like, where are all the big guys at? And there were none. I mean, that's just how – but they look good. They're solid on tape, and they're always a team that's going to be there, and they would be a repeat winner. They've been in that final. Maybe, Hunter, you can help me. They lost to Lafayette Christian, I think, 2 or 3 years in a row, finally beat them last year. Yep. So they're very familiar with being in the state championship game.
Absolutely. And, just looking at this bracket, just the thought of a St. Charles North Caddo quarterfinal matchup, just it's just interesting and just goes to show you, again, how competitive these brackets can be this year. Should they fall the way that maybe by seed, but you never know. You have a Ascension Episcopal or Parkview Baptist, always dangerous this time of year. All right, guys, let's move on. We'll have Division II non-select. And again, this is one of those divisions I think is just wide open. I don't think there's a clear favorite. I'll let y'all give y'all's opinions here in a few seconds, but let's go run through the bracket real quick. Number 1, Iowa draws the first round bye, finished strong with wins against St. Louis Catholic to win their district title, and against Cecilia in the regular season finale. They'll host the winner of Bruley and Abbeville. And then you'll have number 9, Leesville, taking on Pearl River. Number 8, Plaquemine. Number 20, taking on number 25, Jennings. Old Rusty Phelps lives to see another week, announces his retirement a couple weeks ago. And there you go. The Bulldogs are in for the first round of the playoffs. We'll travel to Plaquemine to extend Coach Phelps's tenure just one more week, at least one more week. And then you'll have number 5, Carroll, taking on number 28, Brobridge. Number 12, Iota, facing 21, Northwest. Cecilia against Franklinton. And then number 4, North DeSoto, drawing the first round bye, could face the winner of the Cecilia-Franklinton game. In the bottom half of that bracket, Opelousas draws the first round bye as the number 3 seed. They'll take on the winner of Lakeshore and Albany. St. Martinville at the 11 seed hosts DeRidder. Number 6, Lutcher will welcome Wassman. And then number 7, Church Point takes on number 26, Rain. Franklin Parish at the 10 seed will host North Vermilion. Erath and Eunice will face each other, and the winner of that game will travel to take on number 2, West Feliciana. Todd, top half of the bracket, man. North DeSoto, 9-1, almost 10-0 on the season. Lost a tough one to Northwood Shreveport. But again, a team that you shouldn't count out. But then you have Iowa. You even have Carroll, who could be a dark horse in this division as well.
Carroll is they're either one or two things when adversity hits. That's going to be the thing. When adversity hits a team, your head coach is there usually to keep everything in place. They're not going to have a head coach. They're not going to have like 7 other coaches. So the question is, what's going to happen when they get into that situation? It's really going to depend on how far they advance. But Iowa's played really well. You look at Leesville, who's got a good running attack. When I look at Plaquemine and Jennings, that might not be a good matchup for Plaquemine. Just a lot of things going on over there, and I think Jennings could have a good shot to upset there. And then at the bottom half, North DeSoto, look at Cecilia. They play well, but North DeSoto has it's Dennis Dunn that's coaching them, right?
That's right.
Eric?
Correct.
And, the former Evangel coach, man, he's really done a solid job up there of building the team. Last year, Eric, I thought they had a lot of talent, and I think they may have gotten to the quarters. They may have ran up against Manny, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, I think they're always going to be they're up and coming as far as they've been in the playoffs. Now they've got to be a presence at the state level. And I think they can definitely do that this year.
I think this is one of the deepest brackets that you'll find Division II non-select. We probably have double-digit teams. I wouldn't be surprised if they made it to the Dome.
Yep.
Might be the largest number when you look at after the first 3 rounds and you go back and look at the 8 brackets and you say, how many double-digit seeded teams picked up wins? This might be the bracket that has the most double-digit seeded wins when you do get to the finals, let's say, or through the quarters. You can just go up and down. You can say upset, but it's very evenly matched. Abbeville was really good last year. Maybe not as good this year, but they're a 17 seed. They're gonna if they win, if they beat Bruley in the first round, they could be a surprise team against Iowa. You mentioned Carroll. How do they handle the adversity? Iota's a 12 seed. They knocked off undefeated Church Point on Friday. Cecilia Franklinton, 13-20. That's an interesting matchup. Guy LeCompte has taken over Franklinton, kind of turned things around in year 1. Cecilia's really good. Mentioned North DeSoto, 1 loss on their record last week to Northwood. And then you look at the bottom half, Opelousas, 9-1. Great job by Jimmy Zachary. Was at one time the defensive coordinator at East Ascension. Now the head coach there. He's got that program really humming now. 9-1, 3 seed. Lakeshore's 14 seed, Brent Indest. Everywhere he's been, they've won. Won a state championship a few years ago at Catholic New Iberia. Been to the Dome, leading Karen Crow to the Dome against West Monroe years ago. St. Martinville is an 11 seed, and don't let the 6-4 record fool you. Lutcher is the 6. At the beginning of the year, probably asked, hey, who's your favorite? A lot of people would have said Lutcher. And as long as Lunch stays healthy and they keep stepping things up on defense, Bulldogs have a great shot at making that run. And then Church Point, the last few years have been really good. They face Rain. You talk about upset alert. Rain's a 26 seed. They play in the regular season early on, and Church Point defeated Rain by less than a touchdown. So that's an exciting matchup. And then West Feliciana 10-0, Hudson Fuller, third year in the program's just done a tremendous job there, picking up where Rob Odom left off. So it's a deep bracket, and that's what makes this so exciting.
Hey, real quick, before we continue, somebody wants to say hi. Go on, say hi.
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
He say, I'm doing good.
Say go Tigers.
No, it's Go Pokes down here, huh? Can you say Go Pokes?
Go Pokes.
Gotta love it.
All right, go see your mama. Sorry about that, guys.
No,
Somebody
they
had-
grow up fast, man. Spend as much time as you want with them.
Somebody wanted to make a cameo. Okay,
Look at your puppy. Now your puppy's in.
now we got everybody. Okay, let's go on to Division II Select. Let's see, guys.
Hey, Mom.
She's trying to corral everybody. All right, guys. Let's do let's run through this real quick. So number 1, St. Thomas More takes on the winner of 16 Helen Cox and 17 St. Michael. Number 9, St. Louis Catholic faces number 24 Northside. That winner takes on Madison Prep, who is the number 8 seed, gets the first round bye. John F. Kennedy at number 5 draws the first round bye as well. They'll take on the winner of Kenner Discovery and Archbishop Hannon. A team that could possibly make a little run here is number 13 Evangel taking on number 20 Estruma. They will face the winner. They'll face the number 4 seed Edie White, who draws the first round bye. In the bottom half of the bracket, De La Salle at number 3 will play the winner of LB Landry and Vanderbilt Catholic. Number 6 Lafayette Christian gets the first round bye and will play the winner of McDonough 35 and Peabody. And then number 7 Archbishop Shaw with the legend Hank Tierney takes on the winner of number 10 Livingston and number 23 Frederick Douglass. And then, which I think this is going to be an interesting first round matchup, number 15 GW Carver taking on Booker T. Washington out of New Orleans as a 15 and 18 seed. And that winner will travel over to Lafayette in the second round to take on second seed Turlings Catholic. Todd, a really competitive top of the bracket over there, especially with Edie White and St. Thomas More. But don't count out Madison Prep, who's actually been on the non-select side over the last couple of years, moves over to the select side, and will they be able to make their presence known amongst the some of the top teams in the state?
You know, I think St. Louis is playing well. When it comes to being able to play with Madison Prep, I think that's going to be an intriguing matchup, but I would have to lean a little bit towards Madison Prep. St. Thomas More, they shouldn't have a problem getting to the quarterfinals. But the school I look at is Northwood Shreveport in that top half. I think they've been playing really well. Their only loss was a 1-point loss to, you said it, Northwood.
Northwood? You're in the wrong.
Yeah, they lost.
Wrong division. Division II select.
What am I at? St. Thomas More?
Yeah.
Oh, we got right down there. My bad. No, they're select.
Northwood's in Division One.
Oh, that's great. I haven't listed in both divisions, so they're good enough to play in both divisions. That's what I was kind of
I
saying.
like it.
Yeah. So
There you go.
who is that 5th seed? I'm sorry.
The 5th seed is John F. Kennedy.
That's a little different. Okay. But, they've been playing well. Last year, Eric, were they the team that had to forfeit, or was that Booker T. Washington?
Booker T. Washington.
Booker T.
Forfeited 7 games.
Booker
But,
T.
they've been playing well this year. They're a team that probably is not very familiar with this part of the bracket, so it'll be interesting to see how well they play. But I like Edie White. They've had a chip on their shoulder ever since they lost to U-High last year. They didn't like the way they lost. That I guarantee they hoped they were going to play them again. But in the top half of that bracket, Edie White and St. Thomas More will be a really good matchup in the semis if it gets there. And maybe Edie White, I think, could maybe pull that one off.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on the top half with Edie White as the 4 seed. Really good on defense. And like you said, they've got a chip on their shoulder. They've been there. They've been to the Division II state championship game and lost by a touchdown, I believe, last year to University. And their only loss this year is to Woodlawn by 3 points earlier in the season. Up top, you've got St. Thomas More, Madison Prep. The concern about STM, okay, they've won 9 games. Their only loss was to Catholic, 49-28. It's close at the end of 3. Then they gave up some touchdowns late to the Bears. Down the stretch, their last 3 games, Turlings, Westgate, Lafayette Christian, they've given up an average of 32 points and some change. They figured out a way to win because they've always been explosive offensively. So if you can find a team that can score with them and not get phased and handle that adversity and the ups and downs of being down 14-0 and then being able to fire right back and then make a stop or two here or there, that's the key to victory. Turlings is major league improved, and at the bottom is the 2 seed. De La Salle is a 3 seed. Tremendous running game, very physical, gigantic up front, a great running back, really good on defense. Lafayette Christian, 6 seed. They've been there before. Archbishop Shaw is a 7. They've really improved tremendously. Coach Tierney, back at Archbishop Shaw, definitely has the pedigree, led Ponchatoula to the 5A championship game last year. This is an interesting bracket. Todd has mentioned upset alert. I don't know if I can find one. There's a lot of single-digit schools here that you would be really surprised if they didn't get to the semis and even to the dome.
Guys, Turlings, Westgate, St. Thomas More, Lafayette Christian, easily the best district in the state. And I think that's going to end up showing here at the end of this bracket.
Without a doubt. And then North Vermilion was very much improved this year. And Northside typically has been a 0-10, 1-9 team, and they figured out a way to win some games this year. So, yeah, I mean, in Class 4A, which most of these teams now become Division II on the select or non-select side, easily the toughest district, and probably has a say in their preparation and getting them ready for this run in the playoffs.
I may have said Westlake. I meant Westgate. So I apologize.
Yes, Westgate.
Yeah, and like Coach Hale was saying, I think this is a really tough division, and again, I just think about like the LB Landrys and the Carvers. I mean, these are schools that know how to win in the postseason. It could definitely give these higher seeds fits. Again, just a awesome showing by Archbishop Shaw as the 7th seed, and what Coach Tierney's been able to do in his first year back with Shaw.
Point, Connor. Yeah. I mean, we haven't talked about it enough on our show, but Shaw's really been struggling, and for he's really done a great job. I'm glad you brought that up because he does need recognition for that.
No question. Awesome coach. He has a really good staff. He was able to get some former players from Shaw to come back and teach and also be non-faculty coaches. And he's been able to coach, I guess you could say, in the most positive way. Some really good coaches who have been with him before, either at Ponchatoula or West Jeff or Shaw in his first stint. So definitely being down in Division II has helped, but they really hope that this run and this success and some marketing that they can get build up their enrollment to where they can get back in the Catholic League the next reclass.
Eric and Hunter, week in and week out, we talk to a lot of coaches, and it's becoming more and more it's more and more of an occurrence that when we talk to them, they have several players that used to play for them now coaching for them. And I think that's a huge advantage because, those guys know what their coach wants. Obviously, they're back coaching with them because they respect him a lot and believe in what they're doing. And I think it's a great idea for guys to do that. I don't know if it's always been done, but I know it's been brought more to the forefront these last couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, guys, let's this is probably the one everybody's been waiting for. The Division Ones, typically your 5A schools, but got some 4A schools mixed in with them this year with the new format. We're going to start with Division I non-select. Number 1, Ruston. Big win a couple nights ago against West Monroe, snapping I think it was a 30-year losing streak to West Monroe. I think I was 2 months old the last time they beat the Rebels. So it just goes to show you how long that's been. So they'll take on the winner of Hahnville and Ouachita Parish. Ouachita Parish, a very dangerous 17 seed, if I have to say so myself. Denham Springs, number 9, will play Covington at home. And we'll play the winner of the number 8 Benton game, and Ponchatoula, who's at number 25. Number 5, Zachary, host number 28 St. Amand. That will be an interesting second-round matchup because they will face the winner of either West Monroe or Chalmette. West Monroe will host that game, so a potential Zachary-West Monroe matchup again this year. Number 13, North Shore takes on number 20 Salmon, and the winner of that game will travel to number 4 Southside. Southside's the big story of the year over there in the Lafayette area. On the bottom half of that bracket, Destrehan, just a dominant team this year. I feel like they're one of those teams that kind of been flying a little under the radar as well. They come in as the number 3 seed. They'll have a first-round bye, play the winner of Dutchtown and Parkway. That Dutchtown Parkway is a very interesting matchup as well. Number 11, East St. John takes on number 22 Walker. The winner of that game will take on the winner of a District 1-5A rematch between number 6 Airline and Houghton. Number 7 Slidell will host number 26 Hammond. Westgate at number 10 will host number 23 Belle Chase. And then number 15 East Ascension will host number 18 West Ouachita. And the winner of that game will travel to Monroe to take on the number 2 Neville Tigers. Never thought I'd see Neville and Ruston in a bracket together again in West Monroe, but it's happening this year, guys. Give me your thoughts.
I just like the way Ruston's playing. I think every year for the last 3 or 4 years, we've all thought Ruston had a shot. They've done a very good job on offense, balancing out the run and the pass, and they've been getting big plays through the passing game, and it's made them more difficult to defend, especially Dyson Fields, their big running back. I like those guys. Could Ruston Ouachita be in the second round? Yeah, they could very easily. And Benton is a team that scored a whole lot of points when you jump down to the 8th seed. Eric, their quarterback's hurt, right? Or was?
Is that Benton's?
Yeah.
I think you're right.
And so it depends. I think obviously their point production has really dropped in the past couple of weeks since he's been out. Then you got the possible Zachary West Monroe matchup. Those are really close friends, and that'll be fun to watch. But you have North Shore and Salmon. North Shore beat Salmon earlier in the year, 52-21. So that's going to be a rematch. But you mentioned Southside. I think Southside's the team to look at if you want to find a dark horse. And as a 4 seed, they're playing as good as anybody right now. I love their coach. We had him on a couple of weeks ago. I just think that they got everything going in the right direction. But Eric, it's tough again. I mean, how can I say Southside when you got West Monroe, you got Zachary in that bottom half, and then you got Ruston at the top, Washita. What do you think about Denham Springs' chances?
Yeah, certainly a 9 seed. Brett's got them playing really well. They get Covington. That's a tough 24 matchup.
Yep.
Covington, I watched them rush for 4-something against St. Paul's kind of in the middle of the season. Kind of Jekyll and Hyde, but they definitely have it in them. That's an interesting matchup. Could be problematic for Denham. But Ruston, probably the favorite from that top half, 9 in a row after dropping their opener at home to Warren Easton. But they went through that district that's so deep fairly easily. And the pre-district probably prepared them. But, I mean, it was murderer's row with Easton and Jesuit and Cabot of Arkansas, who was an 8-2 team there, Lafayette Christian, Neville. I mean, that's a tough first 5 games. And then you jump in to that district up there, minus Pineville and West Washita has been a lot better. But they kind of went through that. Those are alarm bells. But we kind of knew going in that Ruston was one of the best 3 teams in Division I with them, Zachary and Destrehan. And Destrehan's been so impressive. Maybe the only knock on them has been their schedule hasn't been that tough, but those are things that are out of your control, and they've only given up 41 points all year. And believe me, they can step up and play with whoever. So they're a force to be reckoned with on the bottom. And then Todd's Neville team is a 2 seed, and man, they've done almost nothing wrong, and they've showed that they could play. They lost to Ruston by 6.
Yep.
Which shows that they could definitely hang with anybody, even with the move up, so to speak. Westgate's a 10 seed. They can play with anybody in this division. But I think the bottom to where you have Slidell and Hammond, that's an interesting district rematch. Westgate, Belle Chase, EA, West Wachita, and Neville. I wouldn't be surprised if you had a double-digit team come out of there, even though Neville is probably the favorite to come out of that bottom part, but wouldn't be surprised. But out of the 16-team bottom part, or 14-team bottom part, I should say, Destrehan definitely the favorite, and up top Ruston, but look out for Zachary, and never count out West Monroe as a 12 seed.
So let's look at East Ascension for a second. We got on Coach Lee because of the schedule he made pre-district, but he did go to West Monroe and beat West Monroe. So when you look at that second round possible matchup between EA and Neville, it's not going to be as big of a challenge for East Ascension as if they didn't take that trip to West Monroe. I think it's going to help them a whole lot, not only with the timing of the trip and the routine, but I think also the confidence to know that they can go up there and they can win. And I think that's a tough matchup for Neville in the second round.
I agree with you.
Yeah, no doubt. And, another team, Airline started the season out 0-3. North DeSoto, Union Parish, and Northwood Shreveport were their losses. Obviously some teams that could win their divisions. But then, just to go down that District 1 5A schedule, they beat a good Bird team that was minus Lake Lambert, their quarterback, for a few weeks. They beat Halton, who they have a rematch again with in the first round. good Captain Shreve team as well as a Parkway. So Airline, another one of those teams that flew under the radar. Potential second round matchup with East St. John if they were to get past Houghton. Just another team that's playing really well right now. Ben Taylor as their quarterback and Daxton Chavez wide receivers. They're both among the top 10 in statistical categories in passing and receiving in the state. So another team from that Northwest Louisiana region to keep an eye on this postseason.
I think, and they've gotten better every week. I mean, they started 0-3, and it's still baffled. Is it Dax Chavez? Daxton?
Yep.
I mean, their coach was talking about it. He runs on the 100. He ran on the 200. He's one of their fastest guys. He's 6'4", and he's not getting looks, and he's got the grades. It's just puzzling. Him and Lunch out of Lutcher, Eric, I mean, seem to be two great athletes. Just, they'll end up somewhere, but it just seems like they should be looked at more than they are.
Yeah, the biggest puzzler is Lunch. Okay, you may not like him as a quarterback, but there is no doubt that he is a FBS running back. No doubt. And then if he could play linebacker. He's a kid you can just sign and figure out where to put him. But he is definitely a Division I football bowl subdivision running back. And it's just puzzling how he has not been offered by many schools, because he definitely, you watch schools on Friday, even if it's a group of 5 school, or you watch TV on Saturday, he can definitely play running back. But there's another kid you mentioned at Airline. Guys slip through the cracks and they don't run a certain 40 time, or they're not 6'2", or they don't weigh 210, or their vertical is only 30 inches. But turn the tape on and Lunch from Lutcher, if you can see he can play college football at the highest level somewhere.
But Eric, the thing is too, is both of their coaches talk about how they are off the field, and that's it. You can sign a guy like that. You don't have to worry about it. He's a leader. He's going to make his grades. He's going to be a good example. He's going to do all the right things. Then he's got his athletic talent on top of that. And it just seems like, I don't think it's a gamble, but I mean, it's worth a shot. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, if you're investing in a kid like Lunch Winfield, there's very little that you should sweat about losing on your investment because of what he brings to the table. Great influence in the locker room, makes people around him better. He's going to work hard, likes the weight room. Those are some things that you can't find with some of these quote unquote 4 and 5 star kids that are signed. So like you said, you can put your head on the pillow as a head coach and know he's not getting you in trouble, and that it's worth giving one of your 22, 23 scholarships to a kid like that, because he can play football.
Absolutely. All right, guys, let's we'll get into our final bracket here. This is the Division I select bracket. The bracket that seems to have no rest for the weary. Let's do it. So again, just a reminder, in these select divisions, top 24 get in, top 8 get buys. So we'll start out with number 1, Warren Easton, drawing the number 1 seed here in Division I select. They'll take on the winner of Tioga and Captain Shreve. Captain Shreve's another one of those schools. Up and downs throughout the season, but always dangerous, especially as a number 17 seed. Number 9, Acadiana, taking on number 24, Riverdale. They'll face the winner of that will face number 8, Karen Crow. So we'll get a potential Karen Crow, could potentially get a Karen Crow Acadiana district rematch in the second round. Number 5, Northwood of Shreveport will get the first round bye and host St. Paul's or Holy Cross in the winner of that game. Number 4, St. Augustine will get the first round bye and play the winner of Brother Martin and Woodlawn of Baton Rouge. Again, Woodlawn's another one of those schools that have come over to the select side along with Northwood of Shreveport. John Curtis on the bottom half of the bracket draws the number 3 seed. They'll play the winner of Huntington and Jesuit. Byrd is the number 6 seed and will play the winner of McKinley and Alexandria. Alexandria is a number 22 seed, could potentially make noise. They've been doing really well in the postseason the last couple of years. The surprise of the year, number 7, Edna Carr, 3 forfeit losses from the beginning of the season, have worked their way back up, went through the Catholic League with no trouble at all, defeating John Curtis handily the other night. They'll draw the number 7 seed and the first round bye to take on the winner of Scotlandville and East Jefferson. Archbishop Rummel comes in at number 15 and will host John Ehret. And the winner of that game gets to take the trip to Baton Rouge to take on the Catholic Bears. Guys, just crazy. The bottom half of that bracket is crazy, but even the top half is very competitive, and not just with the top seeds. I think you'll have some double-digit seeds that could give them the higher seeds some trouble. Todd, give us your thoughts on the top half of this bracket.
I think going out on a limb, I'm going to pick. I think a 20 seed Woodlawn and a 22 seed in Alexandria could very easily make the quarterfinals. I think it's just that tight. I think Warren Easton is going to be tough to beat. But when you look at Acadiana and Karen Crow, a rematch from a couple weeks ago, golly, that's going to be war. And Carr and Catholic, well, I'm supposed to say at the top, my bad. But then I see Woodlawn and St. Aug, or Brother Martin and St. Aug, a possible matchup. That's going to be a fun bracket all the way through, man. I mean, you've got the Catholic League plus Carr and the rest of the best, and Catholic and Warren Easton and Huntington. I'm glad I'm not coaching in that bracket.
Yeah, so in the bottom, you're looking at those heavyweights, Curtis, Carr, and Catholic. Carr, Catholic look like they're on a collision course for the quarters. You mentioned Ash as a possible upsetter out of the 22 seed. Definitely could see that. Jesuit is a 19 going to Huntington and then getting to play John Curtis again. They were really competitive against Curtis in their district opener. Definitely a staff that knows how to defend against Curtis. But you look at the top half, Easton, Acadiana, Karen Crow, some of the usual suspects. Karen Crow moving up, of course, to Class 5A and now Division I. The 12-21 matchup, St. Paul's Holy Cross, the winner of that could definitely go up to Shreveport the next week and knock off Northwood. Holy Cross is 3-7. They were 0-6 in district, but they finished up with a win over 8-2 East St. John, and they played some competitive ball at times in the Catholic League. You mentioned 13 Brother Martin, 20 Woodlawn. Brother Martin just lost last week or last Friday night by 1 point to St. Augustine.
Yep.
Again, I mentioned Jesuit knowing how to defend against Curtis. Same thing with Brother Martin against St. Augustine. Of course, they got to get past Woodlawn at the 20. So the winner of that's a possible upset. But up top, if you look at who has the best players, the best starting 22, by far, unanimous, St. Augustine, who's a four seed. If they can be okay in the kicking game instead of making mistakes in the kicking game. If they can not have self-inflicted wounds, if they can not turn the ball over, do some of the things that are needed to do, they could easily be in the Super. And Warren Easton has shown that they belong in this division. They went up to Ruston week 1 and knocked off the Bearcats, who then rattled off 9 straight wins. This is a really good bracket. Be exciting to watch some of these first and second round games. Sure, you got some of the heavyweights up top. A lot of coaches were trying to see, hey, how can I avoid Edna Carr on the bottom half of the bracket? But it's playoffs. Anything can happen. That's what makes it fun.
They're up 32 at half against 32 to nothing against Curtis at half. I mean, that's unheard of, and that's what I thought you were about to say. Talent, top 22 Edna Carr, but when you said St. Aug, I was like, but Carr is they're deep. I mean, it's just not right there. They're I don't know. Nobody's come close to them. They're gonna
sure. And when I was talking about the best starting 22, and that was the top half of the bracket with St. Aug, but yeah, definitely Carr in the bottom. And yeah, I think there was a little bit of an anomaly with the St. Augustine loss to Carr earlier, and then Curtis just the other night. It was 32-0, and Carr returned the opening kickoff for a touchdown.
Yep.
And then there were some other special teams miscues, some offensive miscues for Curtis. Carr had short fields, and it's uncharacteristic of John Curtis to do those things. So much like Curtis, the same thing with St. Augustine. If they were to match up again with Carr, and man, how many people would be in the Dome on Saturday night for the 7:00 game if it happened to be two schools from New Orleans, St. Augustine and Edna Carr? How many people would be in the Dome for that game? That's an exciting matchup, just like the Division II possibility if it happened to be STM and Turlings or STM Lafayette Christian. So just top to bottom, it's exciting. That's why it's great that playoff time's here. So,
Eric, when's Curtis going to stop kicking it off to Edna Carr? You remember last year what happened?
Sure. And, I'll tell you this. I mean, there's no better special teams guy in the state than Johnny Curtis. Mm-hmm. And those guys are drilled up. They've got their best 11 guys or best 10 guys in the kicker on their kickoff team. And they put a lot of trust in those guys. And I was at the Carr Curtis game last year, the first half. And again, a lot of miscues on Curtis's part, which is uncharacteristic, but a lot of that has to do with Carr. And Carr is so well coached, especially in the kicking game, not just return guys, but when you talk about punt block and then also their punt protection, they do such a great job. And their spacing up front, they have a rhyme and a reason. Bryce Brown, not just a guy who rolls out a bunch of talented players, but does a tremendous job as well as anybody off the field and mentoring those kids and being a surrogate dad for those players. He's been tremendous leading the Carr program.
Jerry Phillips the same way, and
absolutely
St. Aug, all kind of the same background. And not to get off topic here, but those kids in New Orleans need somebody like Jerry Phillips and Bryce Brown there for them. And they take an interest in them just as much as they do on the field as they do off the field.
Yeah, great story with the Carr program, with the book that features Coach Bryce. Just definitely worth the read. And just he has a really good staff, and they do an even better job of mentoring those kids. But that goes without saying. You could say that about every program throughout the state, and that's why these guys do what they do every day, make sacrifices for their kids in their school communities, and they teach, and they do so many different things at their schools, and the sacrifices they make. And that's why they chose to be in this profession. It's awesome.
Yeah, no doubt. It's I had a chance to read that book as well, and just kind of taken aback of the things that, kids have to go through nowadays, but what Coach Brown and his staff have been able to do to mentor those kids and take care of them and treat them as one of their own. I was had a very different outlook on coaches these days after reading that book. Just really good. Go get it if you haven't read it yet. But all right, guys. Well, we've been through all 8 brackets, kind of broken down uh, each
Hey,
one.
does Todd get to release his predictions this year so they can make a great video real cute and put it on YouTube so he can prove that he was
Look, I
right
did
for
that to give it
once.
to Jimmy. I knew that would get Jimmy good, but I will do it Friday.
Yeah,
We'll get back together on Friday and I will make my predictions.
Friday after the games, right?
Funny guys.
no doubt, no doubt. Well, guys, man, appreciate y'all's time for joining us to break down these brackets real quick before we head out. Any final thoughts just on the playoffs in general, or any matchups you're looking forward to as we get down the road to the Superdome in New Orleans?
Excited to see how it shakes out. You've always said, you like the matchups and the brackets and how the pairings are. And I'm excited to see. I think, like Karen Crow and Katie Ann in the second round. Are you kidding? I mean, then possibly you would have the winner of that game playing maybe, let's say, Thomas More. Is that, if I'm not getting them all confused? But I think there's a lot of great matchups. I think there's some brackets, like Eric says, that there's just going to be single digits because they're so strong. And then I think there's brackets where there's going to be double digits that make threats because the depth, the talent is so deep in those brackets. So I think you're going to have different brackets look different ways, but at the end of the day, I think they're going to be very good games, if that makes sense at all.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Carr Catholic is intriguing. Newman U High is intriguing. Ouachita Christian and Glenbrook. Zachary West Monroe again. St. Martinville Lutcher. Union Sterlington. Carroll North DeSoto. Just some possibilities out there. Riverside Ascension Catholic. And then
Mangum.
yeah, there you go. And it's just, that's what makes it so exciting. It's very much like the NCAA men's basketball tournament where people get excited and they wait for the bracket release. This bracket release is probably second only to March Madness bracket, where people get this excited. They tie up websites. They shut Hunter down on Friday night, sometimes Saturday, even Sunday. But that's a testament to how many people are invested in their schools, their school communities. It's really cool to see how many people who played ball in Louisiana. You ask somebody, hey, where you went to school? Neville. No, I'm talking about college. Oh, okay.
Neville.
Correct. And, that's Todd's response. That's Todd's response. My response is Brother Martin. Hunter's response is Haynesville. And that's kind of the way it is in Louisiana. It's cultural, and that's why when you have someone who's played ball here, they go overseas to Japan in the military, or they get a job in Germany overseas, and they're waking up at 1 a.m. or 4 a.m. to watch a live stream or watch a replay of their high school. And they, like I said, they shut Hunter down, but that's a good thing because there's so much interest in the high school playoffs. And now we've got some competitive brackets. We don't have 12 teams on a bracket. We don't have 13 teams or 15 teams. And that just creates more interest. And I've always said some of the best memories for players and coaches is being able to get on that bus. Y'all been there before, and travel somewhere and to pass road signs that you haven't seen before, highways. How do you pronounce this town's name? Or, this is where Eunice is as you drive through. kids from the South, they haven't been north of Baton Rouge before. Kids along I-20 haven't been south of Alexandria before. Lake Charles, they haven't been east of Baton Rouge. New Orleans kids haven't been west of Lafayette. I mean, you can't beat that, the life experiences that high school athletics allows you to have. And this is just a great part of it.
The best part, you got out of school early.
That's true.
No kidding. Especially, man, hey, I want to play at home. That'd be cool. Hey, be quiet. We get to go on the road and miss an entire day.
And guys, also something I want to touch on real quick is, I'm more than thrilled that all the state championship games are going to be back in the Superdome. I don't think you can put a price tag on the memories created within that building, and for those kids to go in there who get the opportunity to go and play, where Super Bowls have been held and national championships have been played, and all these historic moments, to be able to play on that field. There's nothing like it. There's not enough money in the world for me when I was in high school to have taken away that memory of going and playing in the Superdome.
I agree. I think when the Select wanted to move away from the Superdome, they said one thing, and then I think it became more of a hassle, and they really created a lot of issues for the media to be in both areas, and created a lot of issues for the LHSAA. And when you can make it a better experience under one roof, why not do it? And I think they did a really good job of making that happen. I'm glad they did too.
And I'm biased towards the Dome because I'm a New Orleans native. I love that building. I've seen just about every event possible in there that can be seen, from sports to concerts, parades, you name it. So I'm a little biased. I understand, why the Selects did it, for making a boatload of money. Jesuit Catholic last year, that was a great crowd at Tulane. I happened to be there to see and help present the trophy along with officials director Lee Sanders, and that was a great environment for high school football. I get it about the money you can make. However, as Todd mentioned, put a burden on the office. It's great to be back with everybody in the Dome, and I'm biased, so don't ask me about that.
Real quick before we log off, just want to give the rundown of the Prep Classic schedule. December 8th through the 10th, again at Caesar Superdome in New Orleans. Thursday, December 8th, we'll kick off with the Division IV at non-select championship game at 3:30, followed by the Division IV select championship matchup at 7. Friday and Saturday, there will be 3 games each day starting at noon. Friday, you'll have the Division II select, followed by Division III select, and then capped off with Division I non-select. That's on the Friday. And then Saturday, they'll wrap it up starting at noon with the Division II non-select, the Division III non-select, and then Division I select championship game will wrap up the weekend at 7 o'clock. That's December 8th through the 10th at the Caesar Superdome in New Orleans. Guys, playoffs are here. Can't wait to get things started on Thursday, Friday, whenever games start. But once we know it, we'll be down there in the Superdome watching these teams battle out for a championship. Appreciate you guys coming on today and giving your thoughts. And maybe we'll get back together closer to the Dome and maybe do a little preview before then.
Thanks for having me.
Sounds good.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Hunter.